Episode 4 of The Acolyte is here, and stuff is going down real quick. Bright Suns, everybody, Batuuboii here, and welcome to another review video for The Acolyte. This one is for episode 4, titled Day. After a very polarizing episode 3 with Destiny, it is going to be interesting. Last week, we saw flashbacks of May and Osha as children. They're growing up in the Witch Coven on Brandok. This is where we also see how their coven got killed. Now we jump forward to the present day where we are now on Kofar. I will say a lot of things happened in this episode. It was a lot shorter than last week, but we did get a lot more questions, but we did get some answered as well. It's going to be a very interesting episode, so if you haven't seen it yet, like always, please pause this video, go watch it, and then come right back here. Alright, so episode 4, we open up on Kofar, the force retreat where the Jedi Master Kelnaka has essentially gone into hiding. We open up right up the bat with Kelnaka, who is just walking around in the forest. We see him walk into his house, kind of just cooking up a salad. But what was very interesting is that we do see the coven symbols around his wall. I don't know if it's because he's haunted by the events of what happened on Brandok or some other magic witchery type stuff, but we do see this prominently all over his walls. Like, there's a shot right at the end of that first initial scene where it's literally the exact same marking that May has on her forehead. Before we can even begin to think, we cut right back to Coruscant. We're back at the Jedi Temple. We see Jeki and a lot of other Padawans doing some sort of saber training. They're just using wooden sticks. We see Osha come in. Training is over. They begin talking. Osha's just saying bye to Jeki, thanking her for everything, for clearing her name, for helping her find her sister and get that clarity, and that, you know, if she ever comes back to Coruscant, that they can go to a cantina and grab drinks. I just think this is a really nice, like, building point of their friendship that we only really got to see a little bit of in episode 2. So I just think Jeki is slowly becoming my favorite character. You know, after all of these events in episode 3, I have started to have my reserves about Soul, but Jeki is level-headed, she's funny, and she's just being a really good friend to Osha, which she needs right now. There's a lot of things going on in her life, and Jeki is a very good part of that. We then cut back to Kofar, where we find May and Kamir getting off of her ship to essentially go and find Kelnaka. Kamir says that he's already been here before. He pretty much did this entire trek to get to Kelnaka's house for her, so he's going to be essentially leading her over there, which May is also questioning, like, oh, you did this for your master? And he says, no, I did this for you. So he has this inkling of making sure that her mission is complete. He does bring up again that, you know, Kelnaka went into hiding, but he was also stationed there by the Jedi, so it was a little confusing to hear. But before we even start seeing them go on their trip, we go right back to Coruscant, where we see a couple Jedi Masters reviewing the footage of May from Olega. Funny enough, one of these Jedi, and again, if you haven't seen the episode, please do, is the same species as Ki-Adi-Mundi. It does get later confirmed that in the credits that it is a young Master Ki-Adi-Mundi. It's crazy because we haven't seen him since the prequels. He is obviously a lot younger. Like, they just kind of dyed his ponytail from white to brown to kind of de-age him. They're reviewing the footage. They're trying to think about, like, who trained May, who trained her in these abilities, because again, up until this point, they thought she was dead. They want to bring her in for a trial. They say that they want to go ahead and station some Jedi to go and collect her, but Soul is intent on wanting to do this himself and to use Osha as a bargaining chip to bring her in, because they essentially they want her dead. But he knows that there is something else going on, and that without May, they will not be able to find out the bigger picture of what is going on here, which is what Vernestra is essentially afraid of. She knows that May is only a piece of a grander scheme of some evil trickery that's going on. Vernestra agrees. Soul now goes to try and find Osha to essentially bring her on this mission. We cut right back to Kofar, where we see Kamir and May again just on their trek to try and find Kelnaka. They begin talking about essentially what Kamir calls her failures, but she brings up that she did her job. She killed 2 Jedi, but he says that she did it in her own way via a kunai or having Torben drink poison, but essentially that she has not done her job correctly as the master intended or as an acolyte. That it is also later mentioned here that while he does work for the master, he only does so because he owes the master something. What that something is, I don't know, but one line that really stood out to me there was that the master collects people. From what I'm guessing, the master collects people with a special sort of skills to benefit their grandmaster plan. We will hopefully be seeing that fleshed out, because this is, again, it's the halfway point. There's only 8 episodes left. It's all starting to unravel here. We cut back to Coruscant, where we see Pip again, which I'm excited. We all love Pip. As Osha is walking out of the Jedi Temple, Soul stops her. He essentially starts to begin to ask her to come on this mission, but before he can get a word out, which I thought was kind of a little indicator for Osha, she asks, "Are you asking me to return to the Jedi Order?" Which, the way she says it, it sounds like she's very excited. Like it's starting to make me think that she really didn't leave the Jedi Order voluntarily, because she just sounded so eager to want to come back. And he says no, not really. We just need you for this mission to assist in collecting May. At first, she's kind of reserved. She's a murderer. She is lost. She has no redeeming qualities to come back. But Soul gives us a line that we have heard in Star Wars so many times, in that he believes that there is still good in May. Yes and no. We kind of saw that like little hint of good when they first saw each other back on Olega, where she, up until that point, she's just a stone cold killer. She's just a machine. She's going through, she's trying to do her job. But now that she knows that her sister is alive, there is kind of that breaking point of humanity in her, that kind of longing for, her family. Because at this point, her family's been dead the whole time. But Osha agrees to come on the mission, and we then jump to their Jedi transport ship. Again, my favorite ship in the series. It looks really nice, and if they get a model or a figure of that ship, it will be on my desk. So on the transport ship, we have good old Yord, kind of stating what's going to be going on with the plan, how they're going to execute it, going on to the planet. And we finally get to meet Basil, who is a Tannen, I hope I'm saying that correctly, tracker. He's like this little kind of gopher looking person. He's really cute. We meet him sniffing at the Pip droid. The Pip droid essentially like pees on him, just shoots some like liquid. I thought it was really funny. Yord pretty much says that this is going to be our tracker. We're going to have them sniff some little cloth that used to belong to Master Kelnaka, and they're going to lead us straight to them. While this scene is going on, there is one piece that, again, me and my friend Chris were doing that little Leonardo DiCaprio meme and pointing at the screen being like, whoa, 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 stop! Everybody stop! And it wasn't in the prominent shot at all, but to the left, you see what appears to be a Keldor species, and we both thought that this was Plo Koon. We were looking it up. We were trying to see like what's the average lifespan of Keldors. We dead set in the episode were like, oh my god, that's a young Plo Koon. This is Filoni's favorite Jedi. He is a prominent Jedi in the Clone Wars. We did see him in the prequels as well, but he really came out of his shell in the Clone Wars, and he quickly became like one of the most popular Jedi, and he's just really cool. And to see a Keldor on the show was crazy. We did figure out later that it was not Plo Koon, unfortunately, and that it is another Keldor named Ethia Pan who is joining the squad, but again, through this episode, we don't hear them talk. We really don't see them do a whole lot, but I thought it was a really nice addition. It was faking everybody out on the internet, and I kind of wish it was Plo Koon, because we already got Ki-Adi-Mundi. So just give us Plo Koon. He would have been pretty young around the High Republic era, so just give us more Plo Koon. Please. They land on Kofar. We see Jeki essentially holding like this communicator or maybe another droid, using it as kind of like a Google Translate to essentially ask questions about Kilnaka to one of the locals, and I just thought it was a really funny shot. And something that we see here, and I just really love, is just all the Jedi Knights / Masters all together. Like, we really haven't seen this many Jedi in a long time. As you know, we got the sequel trilogy, we only really got Luke and Rey as the Jedi, and we haven't really seen this much since Attack of the Clones, so it was just kind of a nice, cozy feeling to see all of these Jedi coming together for this one mission, and it rocked. And just in case you were missing Yord, don't worry. He gets his Yordening in and starts talking to Osha. She still has her blaster from when they were on Olega. He asks her, I might need to take that back. Osha goes, well, I kind of know how to use it, I'll be fine. He says, well, that's the property of the Jedi Order, so you're gonna need to give it back. And just stop being lame. Stop being Yord. Like, be a good person. You have the capacity to do so. Quit being a tryhard. So after that tomfoolery from Yord, Jeki got the information from the local, pretty much says that Kilnaka went into the forest and never came back, so they begin their trek down there. Yord gives Basil this little cloth to sniff out for Kilnaka, and they're moving forward. They're going straight down to the forest, and they begin to follow Basil. While they're heading down there, Osha pulls Yord over to the side and pretty much starts asking, like, hey, I need you to do me a favor. I don't know what I'm doing here. Yord is affirming her and saying that, you know, you're here for a reason. Master Soul is very wise and knows that you've come here to confront your past. But Osha brings up and asks Yord, if May does not comply and she tries to kill the Jedi, you need to strike her down because I will not be able to. So in my mind, this is just confirming that maybe she just didn't miss because she was a bad shot. Like, she, again, hasn't seen her sister. She thought she was dead. And, you know, it's all of this rush of feelings, the same thing that happened to May when they first saw each other. You know, they don't really know what to do, and she doesn't want to hurt her sister, even though they had a lot of disagreements in episode 3. Like, that's still her sister. She still loves her. So here we get that she won't have the strength to strike her down if the chance arises, and she asks Yord to do so. Yord has that little slight bit of humanity here where, you know, he brings up that they've known each other since they were younglings, and that he knows that she is strong enough for this mission. Soul is very wise and knows what he needs to do. He knows that he's not just doing this to have Osha as a bargaining chip. Soul cares about her too much to let her just be a piece to get what the Jedi want. He wants her to have that closure and to face her past because he knows it's going to be benefiting her in the long run. So we cut back deeper into the forest. We see a lot of these trees with these, like, I thought they were like little tree sacks just on the bark. They continue to walk forward. Osha kind of steps back and touches one of them, and you kind of get the sense that she's almost reconnecting with the Force. She's trying to get a sense of what these items are. It's a terrible idea because one of the sacks begins to just open up and climb up a tree, and it's this giant flying bug, like little roly-poly thing, and it's terrifying. It's got too many eyes, it's got teeth, but it does finally give us some Soul action where he pulls out his lightsaber for the first time in the series and cuts that thing clean in half, and they begin to move on after that. We just got a little taste of it, but I screamed. I was like, finally, we get some Soul action. So after that, we get a little conversation between Osha and Jeki as they're continuing to walk through the forest, where Osha believes that she's responsible for that bug's death, even though, I mean, it's a scary bug. It needs to die. She connected with it through the Force. She believes that her connection through it disturbed its peace, resulting into its death. So something that Jackie brings up is that she finds it an honor to see any animal or person transform into the Force. Essentially what the Jedi are thinking, that death is just another step in their path, that they become one with the Force. The Force connects everything around us, where that's their idea of death. But Osha doesn't essentially see it that way. She sees it as a lost connection. She sees it as the complete end of life. And that's why she doesn't see death as a true Jedi would, which Jackie is kind of confused about. Osha doesn't really believe that she received all of her training and she couldn't accept loss or understand death as a true Jedi because of that sudden death of her sister on her home planet. She couldn't see it as the Jedi would, and she still can. She still saw it as a sense of mourning, a sense of loss of her personal connection. But a line that Jackie brings up, which I think is one of the best quotes in the show, was, "We're not defined by what we lose, we're defined by what we survive." And she has survived a lot. And she has. She has witnessed her entire family die. She's been alone in the galaxy for all of this time after she left the Jedi Order. She essentially got pretty much kidnapped into a new family with the Jedi, but you know, she still had that love for them because they were there to console her at one of the lowest points in her entire life, to then essentially leave the Order, which again, I don't think she did so voluntarily. We get that sense of reassurance from Jackie, and she's such a good friend to Osha, and it's something that she really needs right now because, again, Sol is still kind of being that father figure to her, but there may be some things that are not all there with Sol. We jump back to May and Kamir, who are running through the forest. They're sprinting. Like, Kamir is in such a hurry to get to Kelnaka. Not really sure why. I don't know if he has some sort of deadline to meet with the Master before something bad happens to him, but he continues to push May. May is obviously worn out from running through the forest this whole time and asks to just, take a break. I'm about to fight a Wookiee. I need all the strength that I can get. And this is where they continue to just talk about, their relationship with the Master and their mission. May essentially brings up, obviously, that if I don't do this, he'll kill me. I need to get this done. I'm here for the mission. Kamir continues to venture off, and we are left with May kind of wandering around in the forest. We don't really get much more dialogue from her until we cut to the next scene. We are back with the Jedi. They're looking for Basil, who has kind of just walked off and done their own thing, but we hear May scream in the background. It's this blood-curdling scream that gets Kamir going. He's running trying to find May, and he gets caught in a snare trap that sends him shooting up into a tree. It's at this point now that May starts talking to Kamir, and while they were walking around through the forest, she was thinking that now that she knows her sister is alive, it changes everything. That her loyalty is not to the Master, it's to her sister, and she's gonna go and turn herself into the Jedi. Kamir's like, that's a really dumb idea. They're gonna just throw you in jail. Why would you do that? And she says, well, I have a bargaining chip. I know about the Master. I don't know what they look like, but I know their plan, and they're gonna help me find the Master. Kamir's not about that. He says that he's going to kill you, and she's like, I don't care. I'm gonna leave you up in that tree, and I'm gonna go find the Jedi. And it's also here that while they're trying to find Kelnaka, we're back with the Jedi Knights. Osha and Sol begin talking about the plan and what they're going to do, and she essentially starts to tell Sol that I sense things again. And she's letting him know that she is starting to reconnect with the Force. In the first episode, we tried to see her grab the pip droid using the Force, and it didn't work out. She had lost her sense of connection, but she's starting to gain it back, and she just wanted to let him know that, and that, when the moment arises, I want you to face your past. It's the reason I brought you here. I want you to have that closure, and I want you to succeed because, maybe you're not going to be in the Jedi Order with us, but at least you'll have that sense of feeling because he truly does care about her and her well-being. For now, May is able to find Kelnaka's hut. She trips into this pod, blows a whole bunch of little pod seedlings up, and we see Basil find May. And May is kind of like, oh, you're a cute little guy. And Basil lets out this blood-curdling scream. And it was one of the funniest and most terrifying things ever. I did not think a sound like that was gonna come out of something like Basil, but everybody hears it. Yord is like, okay, Basil found May. They start heading towards the screams. Basil is continuing to scream and scream and scream, and May runs right into Kelnaka's hut and shuts the door, and she's starting to look around everywhere, and we cut to Kelnaka on a chair, and May turns him around, and he has a giant saber cut on his chest. So one of the biggest selling points of the show is now dead. They have just killed off Kelnaka, so now there is only one Jedi left with Soul. We essentially cut to May, who sees this, and she says he's here. Instantly becomes night, which I thought was really weird that it was just it wasn't like essentially a cut, but it faded really quickly into nighttime. The Jedi Knights come out, kind of make a little perimeter in front of Kelnaka's hut, and ask whoever is in the house to come out in the name of the Jedi Order. Yord specifically calls out for May and Asaya, who obviously is there, but it gets almost quiet immediately, minus the sounds of the forest. We see May, who is behind the Jedi Knights, kind of standing off there. We see the Jedi Knights turn around, and blurry in the background, floating down, we finally get a full established shot of the Master, and it is everything that I could have hoped for. He is ominous, he's threatening looking, the helmet looks crazy, and I need a Black Series helmet of it tomorrow. And so this is something that my buddy brought up, is that the Jedi are letting this Master get way too close to Osha. Like, they are able to get almost nose-to-nose contact, but the whole time that I mentioned, they're being the police. Like, the Jedi always try to be the peacekeepers and saying, like, in the name of the Jedi Order, stop what you're doing, don't get any closer, but they're just letting him do it, and they get almost to the point where you can almost see the eyes of the Master in the helmet, and I kept trying to pause to see if we could recognize anything about the Master, like through the eyes. I couldn't really determine anything, but the Master ignites his red lightsaber, which then proceeds to all of the Jedi igniting their lightsaber in that really cool shot that we saw in the trailer of like blues, greens, yellows, just everybody is ready to mess the Master up. But the Master gives a little hand gesture and yeets Osha out of the way. The Jedi begin to swarm the Master, and the Master uses a giant force push to blow the Jedi away. One of the Jedi falls into the camera, and the episode ends. It just ends on this giant cliffhanger. We're introduced to who I was most excited for with the Master. It leaves me so excited for next Tuesday. It is going to be a huge lightsaber battle, and a lot of people in that Jedi Knight group are going to die, I feel like. We essentially were just left like flabbergasted, because now I want to know again who the Master is. But again, we still have 4 episodes left to go to see what's going on with all of this. But I thought this was the best episode so far. We finally got the Master. We got a little taste of just how powerful the Master is. Very hyped for episode 5 next week. But let me know what you thought down in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe for more Star Wars content. But until next time, till the spire, my friends.